You're making one right decision today. You're listening to Handcuffs and Sage.
Three badass moms bringing you all the true crime and paranormal your heart desires.
I'm Red.
I'm Timo.
I'm Dre. And don't let your kids listen. Seriously, just don't.
Hey, it's Handcuffs and Sage.
Woo! Hey, hey.
Woo. This is Red.
Hey, this is Timo.
Hey, this is Dre.
I think there's a delay, Dre. Delay on Dre.
Oh,
okay.
no.
It's all right. It's all good, honey. It's all good.
That's
we're just
always happening. You know what's funny is it totally sounds like you guys are delayed. But yeah. Welcome to Zoom.
We took a vote and it was you. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So this is this has been a really fun week for the podcast. We did our interview with Lindsay Burness, and she just was so fun and so nice. And we were all feeling just real high from getting to do that. It was so fun.
Nice. So nice. Timo was on such a friggin' high that we stopped the interview. I went down my stairs, didn't make it all the way. I decided that I was going to fall down 5 steps. I ended up breaking 2 toes, and my shin
Girl, you crazy.
Yeah, I am in so much pain.
It's destroyed.
Oh my God.
Looks awful.
I've had 2 C-sections, so I thought I had like a real high tolerance for pain. But you guys, it's my big toe and then the toe right next to it, and they're like black. I look like I have like frostbite, like they're gonna fall off, like shrivel up and fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Broken toes are no joke, y'all. And all I can think about is these football players that friggin' break their toes and then they continue playing broken. Oh my God.
Yeah, my hubs would still play football. You know, if you like broke a finger or something, whatever, in a game, you just keep going.
No. Oh my gosh.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
So I don't know how long this is going to take me to heal, but yeah, good times.
I love how you described that you were like so high, you decided to do a herky.
Because literally that's what I did. Well, what I did was I'm like, and it like gives me anxiety just thinking about the fall, because in your head when you're older and you fall, you're thinking, oh my God, like I'm going to break something.
This is it.
I'm going to kill myself. Like what? So as I'm falling, I leaned backwards because I figured there's tile at the end of my stairs. I don't want to go head first onto the tile. So as I leaned back, my left leg completely bent under my body, and then I continued sliding down. So yeah, I did a herky.
It sounds painful. It sounds awful. You survived. You're a survivor.
I know.
Yes. So this is a crazy week. My daughter's up, at college, and it just isn't safe for her to be walking around all over the place. And so we've come to the conclusion that she needs the car. So the hubby is driving the car up to her this week, and I will be carless, but I want her to be safe, and I will feel much better if I know she's safe. So that will be fun. That will be a good time.
Then flying home after he, oh, okay.
Yes. I mean, I told him just walk back, and he was like, that will take forever. I'm like, fine, I guess you can fly. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Spoiled. He is so spoiled. But I'm glad that she will have the vehicle. That makes me feel better as a mom, but I don't have a car. I'm trapped. Save me.
You have nowhere to go anyways. We're all trapped.
Well,
speak for yourself. I've got boyfriends I need to see. I'm just kidding. I wish. I'm so sad. I don't have any boyfriends. Aww. So it's been an interesting week, but I'm excited. We have a lot of people that are going to be coming on, in the future, sharing their personal ghost stories, supernatural stories. Somebody's going to share their own personal story of being kidnapped. So we have a lot of good stuff coming up. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Lots of good things coming ahead, you guys. So watch out for that. I am very professional, and I made index cards for tonight's episode.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Fancy.
So I just feel like I'm killing the game. I got my index cards. I have multiple Sharpie gel pens that are my favorite. Look at me. And then I have my positivity. So I'm just nailing it, killing it, you guys.
Excellent.
I can't do any wrong right now.
Nope.
Yeah. I also sprayed myself with my energy spray. So I just feel all good things.
Oh.
Yeah.
Energy spray?
Yes, I went to this boutique, and it was like a drive-by boutique a few months ago, and there was this amazing woman, and she sells crystals and energy sprays, and she does like energy healings. I love this spray. I know that sounds silly, but I love the smell of it. I spray myself throughout the day with it. Just good energy. I'm almost out of it. And so I guess I need to be buying in bulk. I don't know if she has Costco sizes, but I love it. I love it. I got some for my daughter too.
Hook me up with her. I will, I need some of that. I need some.
Everyone needs this energy. It's great. Okay, so I'll get her information for you.
And then I need to squirt some people up in this hizzle too.
Yeah, you should just spray everybody constantly throughout the day. See what magic occurs. I didn't tell you guys this, but I spoke with another psychic. Her name is Rebecca Faring.
You did?
I did. And I was keeping this a fun secret so I could share with you guys some of the fun things that she said. She's great. So I have talked to her 2 times before, like 10 years ago, right? Long time ago.
Miss Amy is a big fan, I think.
She's amazing. Yes. And she used to go by, I think her psychic company was like Purple Roses, something like that. She's been on television before and done interviews, and she had a podcast, her own podcast for 12 years, but she was like one of the very first podcasters. So really interesting. You can find her on Facebook and book appointments with her through that. But I just had a really good conversation with her, and she said really great things about our podcast and about you guys. And it was just really, really fantastic. And I think that there's really good things coming ahead for us. And I love that.
So awesome.
I love that. Yeah. And she was talking about how we need to get ourselves going at Glow House, and that's going to be a big thing for us. So we've been talking about that, you guys, making videos so you can see us while we share our stories, and I think good things are ahead.
That's going to be so much fun. I
know. I'm so excited. I think I'll have to like dye my hair consistently. I don't know.
I know, we're gonna have to put real clothes on.
I'll have to learn how to do makeup again. There's so many things.
When we're on Zoom, we entertain each other so much with like our facial expressions and stuff. So now we're going to get to share that with you guys. So I think that's so fun.
Yay! I love it. I love everything about it. All right, y'all. Are you ready? Let's buckle up. We have part 2 of The Ripper. I'm loving this series. I've now watched it over and over and over again, and I still love it. It's so interesting to me because it's about the case, and it's about the officers that work the cases, the families that were affected, and just kind of maybe some of the mistakes that were made and why it took so long to figure out who the Ripper was. It's all very fascinating to me. So we're going to start off part 2, and you see just an old school looking television screen. We're in the 70s. Everything has a yellow hue to it also, right? And we see Irene McDonald. This is Jane McDonald's mother. And if you don't remember from part 1, Jane was a 16-year-old girl that was murdered, and she's speaking to everybody. She's on the television, and she's saying, "You're a coward. You're not a man. You're a beast, and I hate you." And she's speaking to the Ripper. And that's how part 2 starts. So it just gives you chills. Watching her speak, she's just broken. She's grief stricken. Her daughter's been murdered and she wants some answers. And I think a lot of people were feeling that way. They really, really wanted to catch this guy. So we ended with part 1 with Maureen Long. And if you remember, she is a survivor. She is attacked by the Ripper and she is the first survivor. So that's where we're going to start here. Maureen is speaking to officers, giving her statement as to what happened from her hospital bed, okay? So she's letting them know that she had spent the evening at a discotheque. Oh my goodness, that sounds like fun. Think of the outfit, think of the lights. She was at a discotheque in Bradford. She, got picked up by a car. She was dropped off. And as she's walking down the road, she's hit in the back of the head and then she is stabbed with a knife. This is terrifying.
Oh my God.
Just terrifying. So we have Detective John DeMall speaking to us saying, they decided to take a different approach with Maureen to get information from her. And this is a crazy story. I cannot believe that they did this. It is cringe-worthy to me. But they asked one of the officers that has been speaking on the series, Andy, he's with the Yorkshire Police. They asked him to take Maureen out. And Andy, he's giving this interview and he's saying, and then I joke, she's not my type. And it's like, come on, this isn't funny, Andy. Like, come on. She just survived being attacked by the Ripper. You dickhead.
Oh, you mean like take her out on a date is what you were saying.
Not a date. So they want him to take her out to the dance club to see if she sees the man that attacked her.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right.
So many things about this. Oh gosh. So they tell Andy that he'll get 15 quid to spend on drinks for the night. And he was saying, yeah, that won't go far. I spent 78 quid that night. She's a real drinker. It's like, Andy, come on. Anyway, so they were saying that if she saw the man that attacked her, they would arrest him. I'm thinking about this poor woman has been attacked. She hasn't been out of the hospital very long, and they're putting her at a place where all of these things could bring up emotions. This all seems like a really bad idea, right? To me, it sounds traumatic. He wasn't there. And again, Andy said he spent 78 quid on drinks that night. Why are they drinking trying to look for somebody? Wouldn't that also cause an issue? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
If I'm out drinking with my friends, I get to a certain point where I don't even know who's who, right? I don't know what they're thinking with this whole thing. So he's not there, and Andy's talking about how, he's a police officer and all of his friends, everybody's just always harping on him that the police officers aren't catching this guy. And he's just basically sick of hearing it, right? They need to catch him. So they're trying to get information from Maureen, but it was very difficult because Maureen had severe brain damage and it had destroyed her memory. Why is it that they know that her memory is destroyed and they still try to take her out to the discotheque and have her identify someone under the influence? What? None of this makes sense to me. So a lot about the investigation just rubs you the wrong way. You just go, what are you doing here? Let me take over. I got this. It's insanity. So what she remembers from that night is, getting drinks at the dance club, grabbing her coat, walking out, and that's it. That's all. Wow. That's all she remembers. So this is another dead end. Even though she survived, she doesn't remember any of it. Crazy.
I'm sure she's protecting herself by forgetting it too. There's that defense mechanism.
Yeah. Part of me is like, I'm glad that she doesn't remember that awful thing happening to her. Poor thing. So we meet Chris Gregg. he was 23 years old when he joined the police department. He became a police officer. He said he wanted to, become a detective with the West Yorkshire Department. He's saying that the red light districts were very vulnerable areas, right? So what they did is they set up an undercover operation where they would record the car registration of every car that had a single man driving it. And he said it was crazy. It was staggering how many there were driving through the red light district that they had to like take down the car registration for. He said it was thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Where your hubby at, honey? Where your man at? Red light district. That's where your man is at. Getting his car registration written down. Okay. So at this point in the investigation, they have 270 officers. They're working full time looking for the Ripper. So then we meet Elaine Benson, and she's speaking, and she was a West Yorkshire police officer. She had such a frustrating job, and she's trying to explain to us the system that they use to put in information. Remember, this is the 70's, right?
Oh, yeah.
They don't have computers. They don't have phones, right? They don't have the tracking systems we have. This poor woman deserves an award, okay? Her job was to index all names that came in on index cards on this huge rotating wheel, right? And then if something came in, information came in, you'd have to go through the wheel, find it, add notes on this index card, write it out, okay? Write it out, add it into this big wheel. It's insane when you see this is the system that they were using to catch this guy. It's so crazy. So then it went into an action phase. So they would pull the card out. Somebody would go and follow up with whatever tip had come in, and that was written on the card. And then after they met with maybe that person, they would add notes to the index card and then put it on the wheel. And it went over and over and over like this. And they got information from police officers, people calling in, door-to-door inquests, and it was hundreds a day that she had to do this.
That's crazy.
I would be like, I think I'm gonna try something new, like maybe a barista. I don't know. This sounds like a miserable job to me. So then we meet this sweet man, Bruce James. I love senior citizens, and I love Bruce. He's just got such a sweet, kind heart, and he's telling us this story that at the time, him and one of his friends were planning to make a garden in the backyard, and they had put this all together, and he was excited about this garden. And he said, the day that they started, it was a lovely day. They started working, and he realized later on that he had rolled his wheelbarrow over a body.
Damn.
It's October 1977. Bruce is letting us know what he saw. Her hair was burnt off. Her face was smashed in. Her breasts were cut off. She was disemboweled. She was cut in the most horrendous ways a person could cut someone. And he's just losing it. He's very emotional, trying to talk about this. He's gardening, and this happens, right?
Yeah.
He finds her body. He goes over to the phone box that's across the road. Remember, we're in the 70's here, people. He goes to a phone box. He rings 999, and the officers show up, he says, within minutes. So they were there really fast. Poor guy. I hate that Bruce saw this. Such a sweet man.
The way he's describing the body is almost like the Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper.
The actual Jack the Ripper. He did all that crazy shit too. Wow.
So it's interesting that you say that, Timo, because a lot of people, when this started happening and these bodies were being found, mutilated and cut up, they were calling him the reincarnation of Jack the Ripper, right? So the body that was found was of Jean Jordan. She was found 9 days after she had disappeared, and she was found completely nude. She was a known prostitute, and she was last seen in a nearby red light district area. This was 3 months and 5 days since the last murder. She was found in Manchester. And it is interesting to kind of see on a map where the murders are taking place and kind of how he's kind of working the area, going here, then working this area, right? Trying to obviously stay away from where maybe police are investigating. The largest network of motorways at the time was in Manchester. And, you have people on the roadway. When her body hadn't been found, obviously the killer thought maybe someone on the roadway was going to see. That didn't happen. So when her body hadn't been found, he returned to the scene of the crime, and he actually moved her body out into the open to be found, which is very risky for him to do if you think about that. So it's obvious that it's very important to him that the bodies are found, right? We have serial killers that hide their bodies in the woods, they bury them. That's not what he's doing. So it'd be really interesting to see like a write-up, to see what they would say psychologically is going on with him, his motivations and what he's thinking. So Mike Green, he's the forensic pathologist. He said that she had been slashed post-mortem on her abdomen. So what he said happened is that the killer came back. He was looking for something around the body and he couldn't find it. He lost his temper and slashed her body, even though she had already been dead for quite some time, which is crazy. This guy's out of control, right?
Yeah.
Totally. The contents of her handbag had been dumped out, but inside was like a closed pocket inside of the purse that he obviously didn't know about and didn't see. And inside the closed pocket was a new 5-pound note. So like a $5 bill, right? It's a note. It has a very unique serial number on it, and he knew that it could be traced, right? So if a new note comes out, it can be traced. So if he paid her with it and then realized later, oh shit, that can be traced, fuck me, he went back to the body to get that $5 note that he had given her, right? Obviously couldn't find it because she had put it in like a secret pocket in her purse. So they traced this £5 note to see where it would have been sent out in the area. So officers interviewed employees at factories that it would have gone to pay them, right? Their pay. They interviewed hundreds and hundreds of men at these factories, and they came up with nothing. Couldn't find anything out. So another dead end. And this keeps happening over and over and over again. So they really felt like they needed the public's help, but this is just a really stressful time and for people in these areas economically. And they just felt like because people were going through such a difficult time, they weren't really getting out and helping with the investigation. Okay. So it was frustrating for everybody. One of the officers is talking about how at the time, society is changing. It was okay to live together out of wedlock, to have children out of wedlock. Like it was like a disgusting thought, but this is what was going on also at the time. December 1977, there's another attack in Leeds. She was a prostitute and she survived. Marilyn Moore is a bad ass. She is a true blue badass. Oh my God. So she felt the second and third blow to the back of her head when she's attacked. She gets away. Something happens with lights. Someone's like maybe headlights came up a road. He freaks out, drives away. She said that he like skidded the tires like near her back, like all over her.
Oh.
And that caused him to leave like really good tire tracks too. And they were able to match those tire tracks to a previous crime scene of Irene Richards. So that is good evidence. That's awesome. So they have that. They have the match. But what is badass about Marilyn is she gives a full description of what this piece of shit looks like. She says he's about 30 years old, beard, dark hair. She sits with someone and they do a whole picture, right? This picture is so spot on to who the Ripper is. It's ridiculous. I haven't said who the Ripper is yet, right? When we find out who the Ripper is and you do a side by side to this picture, it's like someone took a photo of him. It's amazing.
Cool.
Marilyn, you're a badass. Okay. So officers are saying, at this point, with the pressure, with everything going on, people are getting very upset with them. There seems to be a lot of divide in the areas, dealing with the officers, that they would work 24/7 if they could catch the guy, right? Tensions are riding high with everybody to get this guy. It seems very, very frustrating for all of them. So February 1978, we meet Angela Gallup, and she's a badass. I love her. She is the first woman to be part of the forensic science lab at the time. And this is the first murder case she worked. And she was kind of talking about how her boss was a little unsure about having a woman in the forensic lab. Like, didn't know if she could do it. She's like, I just ignored it and I just did the job I was supposed to do. So she's a badass. I love her.
That's funny.
This is her first murder case. And it happened at a timber yard. So you see photos, it's really dank and gross and wet looking. It's just a yucky area. This was the 7th victim, Helen Ritka. And Angela is talking about, this is her first murder case. She comes to the scene. This is the first body. And she says that she is struck by how beautiful she looked, that she looked serene, and that it actually surprised her at how the body looked, and that it made it almost easier for her to like take care of the body and do everything that she needed to do. She said this was an absolute horrible place to die. The picture, it's like muddy everywhere. It's so gross. It's so gross and sad that this is where this poor girl died. Ugh, it makes me so, so sad. So they were actually hoping to find some evidence because it's a timber yard. So there's wood everywhere. And she's explaining that when you have timber, you have like these rough edges, right, on the sides of the wood, which will catch fibers and things like that. So they're really hoping to find some evidence. This happened 3 months and 30 days from the last murder. So officers are taking over the area. They're investigating it. They go door to door. There's 48,000 interviews done at this point, and 136,000 vehicle checks so far in this investigation. So crazy. Helen had an identical twin sister, Rita. So they were both involved in prostitution. They were only 18 years old. You see pictures of Rita, and she's, at the police department. And she said, one of the officers said that Rita did everything she possibly could to help with the investigation, right? To catch her sister's killer, that she put her heart and soul into finding any information. It's heartbreaking because you see you see Rita, and she's standing next to the picture of her sister that's been murdered in the newspaper, and they're identical. It's like, it's just chilling to see. It's so sad. So we have a situation where officers are interviewing people, but the prostitutes in these red light areas really don't want to talk to the police, right? Even though they're scared to be working in these areas, they still don't have a good relationship with the officers. So they're not telling the police anything. We have this feeling that the public don't care because it's prostitutes that are being killed. It's just, it really is a hot mess. Okay. So we have an officer, telling us, throughout this investigation, all of a sudden you really see how it's affecting the officers working the case. All of a sudden you see a lot of them getting divorced. A lot of them are having heart attacks and dying. So everyone's being affected by the stress of this. So they have to think of something to do, right? So they think that maybe a reward will help the situation. So actually some businesses in the area pulled together, and the first amount of the reward was 10,000 pounds, but then they did get it up to 30,000 pounds. When the reward came out, again, this is a really bad time economically. People need money. So they are getting information, right? They set up an info line. You see a picture of like an old school telephone with like a really long cord and the rotary dial, and there's a sign like, do not touch phone, right? Because this is for the information line. They set this up. They get a huge response. But then we hear that it's a lot of girls turning in, boyfriends that had broken up with them or pissed them off. A lot of them are wives turning in their husbands because they're having weird behavior, right? Psychics call in, crank calls. And again, remember, poor Elaine is indexing everything on a goddamn index card and putting it on a giant wheel, people. So it was just chaos, right? So then we hear from an officer saying that at one point there were so many filing cabinets that it could fill a football field on this one floor of the department, to the point where structural engineers came in and said the floor is going to cave in.
Wow.
Yeah. They had to put pillars under the floor so that wouldn't happen because there was so much paperwork. I don't know why they didn't use computers and cell phones for information. That would have been the smart thing to do. Okay. So this is a chaotic filing system, and it's not working. They're no closer to catching him at all, which is crazy. It's nuts. So we see, officers going around in these red light areas, and you see, prostitutes are still working. Even though he's out there killing people, prostitutes are still working. And you see like this news person going around doing interviews like with prostitutes, and one woman who like, I guess prostitutes her daughter, they're asking her like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And this woman with a very thick accent goes, well, it's a living, love. It's a living. Ain't it, love? And it's just like, oh God, the state that they're living in. You're prostituting your daughter. There's a guy killing prostitutes, but it's a living. It just makes me so sad. Oh, it just makes me so sad. It just kills me. So March 1978, this is Easter Sunday. A passerby sees a hand sticking out of a pile of rubbish under a sofa in like this wasteland area. It's kind of this field where you dump garbage, basically. The body of Yvonne Pearson is found. Her body is found near Bradford, near a red light area. She had disappeared 2 months before, and at autopsy, they determined that she was killed at the time that she went missing. So her body had been there. And under her arm at the crime scene, they found a Daily Mirror newspaper that had been placed there with the date February 21st, 1978. The Ripper had come back to place it there so they knew when he killed her. And that's where we're going to stop part 2.
Wow.
Why can't they catch him? Why?
That's so crazy.
Such a tease. Such a tease.
I've heard that.
I'm so
oh my gosh. What are you talking to my husband? Anyway.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy series. I'm thoroughly intrigued with this case. It's very interesting. And then, you know, later on we're going to find out big mistakes and opportunities that were missed because, you know, men. So
oh man.
Yeah. All right, y'all ready for some paranormal shit?
You're ready,
bitches.
Okay.
Timo's time.
So I've wanted to do this story for a really long time. I remember, like, in my beginning paranormal days, when I first started watching ghost shows, there was this show called A Haunting, and it freaked me out because in the beginning it says a haunting.
Was it a ghost hunting show?
No, it wasn't a ghost hunting show.
Oh.
It was kind of like like they told you the story of a haunting.
Okay.
Where they had reenactments, and then they had interviews with the real people and all that other stuff.
Reenactments are my jam.
But when it came up on the screen and said A Haunting, then this like face of like a woman showed up, but it was just like an outline, and then her eyes were like glowing, and it's really creepy. Yeah, and it still creeps me out to this day. She has no features. It's just like an outline of a face. But I used their show to talk about this topic because I think they do it so great. And I think I've sat down and taken notes maybe 3 or 4 different times about doing this topic. And then I've set it aside because I couldn't make it work. So when I saw this, I'm like, okay,
work.
Yep, make it work. So I'm going to talk about the Sallie house. And it's,
yes, girl.
Yeah, so they either call it the Sallie house or Sallie's house, and it's Sallie, so it's spelled kind of cool. And the house itself is in Atchison, Kansas. And Atchison is famously known for the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad, where in more than a century, it was a place where travelers would pass through. So this very famous railway, in and out, in and out, in and out. So it saw a lot of action. Okay.
Atchison was where it was at.
Is where it was at.
Except Kansas.
Right. And Atchison is considered to be the most haunted city in Kansas. Now, there's so many other places in this city where just crazy shit happens. Yeah. And you could go there today and take a trolley, and they take you all around and show you all the ghosts.
I can't go today. I'm busy.
Okay. All right. Well.
Okay. Someday. I could.
Someday. So we're going to go back to March 1993, and newlyweds Tony and Deb Pickman, they rent a house in Atchison. They were just starting their family. She was pregnant, and they thought that this was the perfect little starter home for them. Cute. And weeks after moving in, strange things started to happen. So one night the couple were just, kicking back, watching TV. They decided to go to bed. Tony turns off the TV. They walk up the stairs, and all of a sudden the TV pops back on. So she's like, well, I thought you turned that off. He's like, yeah, I did too. So they kind of just chalked it up to it being an old house. Maybe there's faulty wiring. And he was going to talk to the landlord and see if they could get that, figured out. So in the summer of 1993, Deb gives birth to a son, and they name him Taylor. And Deb's sister, Karen Loader, she comes out from New York to visit and just to help her sister out. You know, it was her first baby, you know,
I
all
love
that
it.
good stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one night, Tony is upstairs alone, and he sees something out of, you know, the side of his you know, his peripheral vision, and then he hears a child laughing, and it goes into the nursery. So he's like, what the fuck is that? So he follows it into the nursery and looks down and sees a perfect circle of stuffed animals arranged on the floor, and they're all facing outward. So, you know, you're thinking like 5 or 6 little stuffed animals, and they're perfectly in a circle, and all of them are facing outward.
Oh, prepare for chills. It's coming up my body. I feel it.
So he calls Deb and Karen up. He's like, come up here. You got to see this. So they look down and they're like, what the heck is that? So they're like, oh, Alan. Oh, Alan. So Alan is Tony's brother. He lives next door. They're thinking, oh, good one, Alan. So they're thinking that Alan.
Good one, Alan.
Yeah, played a prank.
It's not Alan.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
So then a few, you know, hours later, Deb is upstairs alone, and she hears a child laugh, and she hears it from the nursery. So she goes and she checks out the nursery, and guess what she sees? The same circle of stuffed animals laying on the ground. And they're like, okay. So she yells for Tony. Tony comes in. He's like, good one, Deb. Oh, good. She's like, it wasn't me. It was not me.
Oh my goodness.
But they're like, how could Alan have done it this time? Because we would have seen him. He checked all the doors, all the windows, everything was locked. He's like, I have no idea how he did it this time. So all of them were freaked out. So they all decided to stay in the same room that night. Like, Karen's like, I'm not sleeping by myself. I'll sleep on the floor. I don't care. Karen finally leaves, and they have Alan over one night. You know, they're just kind of like hanging out, having some beers, and Tony's like, come on, dude, fess up. How'd you do it? How'd you do it? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, how'd you get in? How did you do it? He's like, it wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he starts joking around. He's like, maybe you have a ghost. Oh, ha, ha, ha. So he grabs Tony's camera, and now you guys, this is the 90s, so it's an actual camera with film in it. So you can't see the pictures that you're taking. You have to take them and get them developed. So
patience was a virtue, dude, for photos. You had no idea.
Alan starts to provoke this possible spirit, and he's like, hey, come out, go, and he's just walking around taking pictures. And then there's this little teddy bear, and it's sitting on this chair in the corner of the room, and he goes to take a picture of the teddy bear, and all of a sudden it just flies off the chair across the room. And they're like, what the fuck was that? So they all bail. So Alan leaves. Tony and Deb grab the baby, and
oh my gosh,
they head outside. Okay, so Tony is putting Taylor in his car seat, and you know, he's buckling him up, and then he goes, oh, and he like feels something on his lower back, and he's like, oh, I think I got stung by a bee or something. But they're like, we want to get out of here, we got to get out of here. So he just brushes it off, and they go over to Tony's parents' house. Well, when they're there, Tony starts saying that his back is really hurting him. And Deb's like, well, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I think I got stung by a bee or bit by a spider or something. So she lifts up his shirt, and across his back are 3 like nail scratches. And he has no clue. They have no clue how he could have gotten those.
I hope they had put Neosporin on that shit, dude. Oh, God.
First thing that comes to Tony's mind is there's something evil causing this. Like, he's like, fuck this. Like, this is not normal. And Deb is also freaking out, but they know that they can't afford to move out. They don't really know what to do. So they go back that night. They don't even stay the night at his parents' house. They go back that night.
I get that, though.
Really?
No. We'll just go back home. It's better there.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about here.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. Oh, claw marks? No, it's fine.
Right. So the next day, Alan comes over and he's like, hey, you guys, I have an idea. My boss's sister is a medium. You know, why don't we have her come, check the house out, see what's going on? Like, what do you have to lose? You know, if she's crazy, she's crazy. But if she finds something, whatever. So they're like, okay, cool, let's do it. So 3 days later, the medium, her name's Barbara, she comes out, and she is from California. She does lectures on parapsychology, and she communicates with the dead. So they sit down in the living room. They're telling her what has been happening. And immediately Barbara wants to go to the nursery. So they go to the nursery, and she says, I feel a lot of energy in this house, but in this room, it's bananas. And Tony at this time, he brought his camera up. So he's starting to take some, you know, pictures of her in the room and whatever. And then all of a sudden, Barbara starts to cough and she can't breathe. So she's like choking. And she's like, we need to leave this room. We need to leave this room right now. So they leave. And as they get downstairs, Barbara kind of turns around and she tells Tony, take a picture right now at the top of the stairs. So he takes a picture. There's nothing there. He takes a picture at the top of the stairs. Barbara says she feels the presence of a young spirit. And then she starts asking it questions. Now she's talking to the top of the stairs, okay? And she's talking in a tone like you would, you know, talking to a young child. She's like, what's your name, sweetie? Hi, and whatever. She's like, her name is Sallie. And she's probably around 7 years old, and she died in this house. So she asks her what she's doing in the house, and she tells Barbara that she's baby Taylor's protector. And she was the one that scratched Tony to protect Taylor. So to Deb's like, oh my gosh, she's like our guardian angel. This is cool.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah,
suggests
good
to
times.
Barbara. Yeah. So she suggests to Barbara, she goes, do you think I should go buy her some toys just to make her feel like she's at home and whatever?
Oh my goodness.
Barbara goes, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But Tony is like, hold up. What the fuck? I don't think so. He's
I'm
like,
with Tony.
Yeah, I don't even think that this is a little girl. This is wrong. This is something evil. I don't want us to interact with it at all. But then a few days later, Deb goes out shopping and she's buying little teddy bears and little things here and there for
Fucking
Sallie.
Deb, dude. She just does whatever she wants. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever she wants.
But guess what else she did? She went and picked up the pictures. The developed pictures.
Oh, what did
5 weeks later when they were ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she had to dig through her purse for the piece of paper to give to them for the photos. Yeah. I remember.
So you open up the little envelope. We've all done it. And you pull out the stack and you start looking through them. Well, she said the very first picture, she said, made her knees buckle. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She saw a black mist on the staircase. And as she looked at it, she just got this horrible feeling. And then as she was going through them, the next one and the next one and the next one, all of them had some type of blob, this, that. And she was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker to her, to her stomach. So she goes home and immediately shows Tony the pictures. He's like, yeah, see what I told you? So the one that Barbara had told him, Tony, take a picture of the top of the stairs. You see this thing floating in midair and it looks like a person, like a body of something. And it's like midair, we're on top of the stairs. And they couldn't explain.
Does it look like a child's?
It doesn't look like a child. It just looks like an outline of something. Okay. But it really scared Tony. But Deb is still excited that she thinks Sallie's a good spirit and she's all for it, I guess.
I think Deb smokes crack and she needs help. This is not good.
Yeah, it gets worse. So Tony worked the graveyard shift and he would come home every day early in the morning. So one day he was in the kitchen and he was getting himself something to drink and he saw Sallie in the kitchen. And he freaked out. He ran upstairs. He's out of breath. He falls down and he starts telling Deb. And she's like, tell me everything. Tell me everything. She's so excited. She wants to know every little bit. And she's kind of jealous that Tony got to see her and she didn't.
Is she jealous that he also got clawed the fuck up on his
I know, right?
deck?
Yeah, I
Check
bet.
yourself, girl. Okay, you next. I feel it.
So Tony told her that she was this little girl, and guess what color dress she was wearing? Red.
White.
Yep, she was wearing a white dress.
I'm shocked to hear that she was wearing a white dress.
And she had a bow in her hair. For months after that, the house was quiet. Like it was quiet. Nothing happened for months after that. So what does Deb do in this time? Deb goes out and buys a fucking crib for Sallie.
Oh, come on.
So she has two cribs in the nursery and one with a blanket and toys and all that.
Oh, Deb, girl.
Yeah,
fucking losing her mind. Sorry.
And she continues to go in there and talk to her and say, this is for you and this is for you and la la la. And it causes a rift between her and Tony.
Yeah,
and Tony
I was gonna say, Tony's like,
bitch.
I married a crazy bitch. Yeah.
Then Tony starts to hear whispers in his ear. Not of a child, but he said it sounded like 3 adults having a conversation. And it would be every night while he was trying to go to sleep.
That
he could not go to sleep.
That is
right?
creepy.
So one night he's just like rolling around. He's like, fuck, fuck, fuck. And then all of a sudden his bed started to shake. That up.
Tino, he was saying,
I would be saying, fuck, 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 you know. So he sees an apparition of a woman at the foot of his bed. Okay. And he's like, fuck that. So he gets up. He's going to run out of his room, but he's locked into he's locked in. He can't open the door. So then all of a sudden the door opens and Deb's standing there and he's like, oh my God. And he's trying to tell her. And she thinks that he was all imagining it, that it's just because he's had a lack of sleep, because he works graveyard. And this starts to enrage Tony. He's thinking about hurting Deb. He says this wasn't like him, but these feelings will just get stronger and stronger and stronger. Where
but
he
I
was
also
like,
have those feelings about Deb, and I haven't met her in person.
So it's like Amityville style.
Oh, almost for sure.
Yeah.
So they bring Barbara back, the medium, and she tries to communicate directly with Sallie again. All of a sudden, all 3 of them hear Sallie's laugh, but then Barbara senses another entity in the room, and she hears Sallie say, it's her, like in a panic. Okay. So this spirit is much older and much stronger, and Barbara believes that the spirit is the one that's actually doing the things that's been happening in the house, including scratching Tony. Sallie is telling Barbara that the spirit will not communicate directly with her. And she's like, basically, I can't help you at this point. Like, she's not going to communicate with me. She's communicating through Sallie. So she wants to have a paranormal investigation team come out to help them. So they're all for that. Even Tony. Tony's like, yes. So Tony felt that if it wasn't a spirit, he's like, it's the fucking devil. Like, he is beyond himself. He's like, this is the fucking devil.
I feel so bad for Tony, honestly. Yeah, because he's being attacked, right? And then his wife is buying cribs and toys and shit. But then when stuff happens, she doesn't believe him. Like,
I know.
Poor Tony.
I know.
You know what? I'm on his side.
So days later, the team arrives and it's led by world-renowned medium Peter James. Now, I love Peter James. I brought him up before. He has white hair, but a black eyebrows and a black mustache. Like, I don't know if he dyes that shit or what, but it's this contrast, right? And they all sit down with Peter.
Yes.
I'll put a picture of him. So they sit down to talk with Peter. Mustache rise. So they sit down with Peter and he asks them if they have a daughter, like around 7 years old. And they're like, no, why? He's like, really? Because when we pulled up, I saw a little girl around 7 looking out the window at me. So the team starts getting all their stuff set up and they're walking around. They have the EMF and it's just going bananas. Like the EMF is going off the charts. And Peter says that he senses 2 spirits. One is a child and one is a very powerful woman. So Peter sees the child and he starts to talk to her. Same thing like what Barbara was doing, like you would with a little child. And she tells him that her name is Sallie. So they did not tell Peter and the group anything about what Barbara had found out. So they feel like Tony's like, cool. They know it, like two people are saying, okay, it's a little girl named,
right. Yes.
Sallie. Deb is ecstatic. She's like, yes. So Peter continues, but very cautious because this older woman spirit is not good. And he feels her in the master bedroom. So they're up in the master bedroom. He's saying he feels her in there. And all of a sudden, Tony gets attacked. And not only once, but 3 different times while they're all in the bedroom. And each time are 3 scratches. So there's one up here, there's some down here, there's some down here. Yeah, totally crazy. So now Tony is freaking the fuck out and Peter's trying to calm him down, telling him that he can't show that he's afraid, that they're going to feed on that. Don't be calm, be calm, be calm. So then Peter goes into the nursery and the EMF is like going bananas. Peter asks, why are there 2 cribs in here? I thought you only had 1 child. And Deb explains that one is for Sallie. And you should see the look on Peter's face. He's like, oh, great.
He's so like, I sense a crazy woman in this family. It's you, Deb. You're crazy. It is. You're a crazy bitch.
The team finishes their investigation. They go through the entire house. They go outside. And then Peter tries one last time to communicate with the woman's spirit. And he starts to see these visions. All these visions start coming about. And he's in the house, but it's another century. And the woman is African American. And she was a servant of the doctor who owned the house in this century. She was also his mistress.
Oh, shit.
But they kept it a secret because in those days, it was not cool to have an interracial relationship. That was bad. And it's
also, bad to cheat on your wife and shit.
Well, he wasn't married.
You said mistress.
He was, mistress, girlfriend.
He was single, ready to mingle, and he was hitting it up with the servant. That sounds hot.
So Sallie was their 7-year-old daughter that they tried to hide from the town because they didn't want scandal. Okay.
No, that's sad.
So unfortunately, Sallie became sick with pneumonia. And then back then in those times, they didn't have the technology or the medication that you could save a small child from dying of pneumonia. And Sallie died. So Peter tells Tony that they need to cleanse the house. Tony needs to be strong, let the spirits know that this is his house and that they need to leave. But Tony just wants to get out. He's just like, no, I'm not doing this. And he starts then to get those visions of hurting Debbie. And it's like getting bad and bad, where he actually sees himself like strangling her and killing her. So he finally tells Deb, listen, this is what's happening to me. If we don't get out, I'm going to fucking kill you. So she agrees. And as soon as they moved, Sallie never saw Sallie again. He never had those feelings again. Nothing. Okay.
It was done.
It was done. Now, there is another story about who Sallie actually is. That story goes where it was just the doctor that lived in the house. One night, a woman showed up at his door with her young child. She says, my child is very, very sick. Please help me. He's like, of course, bring her in. he figures out that the child has appendicitis and he needs to do emergency surgery. Now, either he does it super fast because he wants to save her life, but then there's another part where he actually spills his ether, I think is what they used back in the day. So he has to do the operation with no, like, where she's fully awake, where the little girl's fully awake. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So not only is she in pain from the appendicitis, but she's having surgery of a strange man doing this to
that makes
her,
me
right?
sick. Oh
Right.
my god.
And she dies. So this is why she's attacking Tony, because she is like reliving her death over and over, where this man was hurting her. So I don't know what story is real, but that's the other stories that are out there. So we are going to move on to 2016, when our friend Zach Bagans and his team go out there to investigate the house. So Ghost Adventures season 13, episode
Holy
2.
Crap, man.
This
13, wow.
Yeah, 23 years later that this has happened, right? So a little back history, the house was built in 1867. There's 3 confirmed deaths on the house. And at this time, the house remains empty. No one lives in it. Zach meets Joe Butler. He was with the Atchison PD. He's retired now. But he's friends with the Pickmans. He says they're totally credible. I believe them 100%. Exactly what happened to them happened to them. So he said Sightings. Now, Sightings is another TV show back in the day. Sightings was on site. They were going to do a show. They were filming, and he came by in uniform, and Peter James was out front, and he kind of stopped him, and he said, whoa, 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 whoa. You need to leave. And he's like, why? He's like, because Sallie's here and she doesn't like you. So he left. He was like freaked out. He's like, holy shit. So then Zach does an interview with a Denise Pridemore. She's a tour guide, and she leaves, every day from work, and she finds scratches, bruises, bumps, always anywhere, somewhere on her body that she can't figure out where they're coming from. She will not go into the basement. Now, I've never heard of the basement until I saw this episode with Ghost Adventures. In the basement, there's this giant hole, which is like really weird. And the lady that moved in after Tony and Deb moved out, she was like a Satanist, and she did animal sacrifices down in the basement. She had a big black pentagram drawn on the floor. It's since been cleaned, so now it's like a big black smudge. But yeah, great. Now there's, that whole shit going on where she's like opening portals and worshiping the devil and whatever, right? So she tells Zach that she's worried about them. She's like, I just want you to be careful. And he's like, why? He's like, because the house speaks to me, and it's telling me that it doesn't want you or your team here. So of course, Zach's like ecstatic, right?
Hell yeah, bring it on.
So then
Ghost is.
Zach meets with Tony and Deb Pickman.
Oh shit. Are they still together? They made it work.
They still live in Atchison, you guys, but they will not go to that house. They absolutely, dude. Deb has her nice little hairstyle, and Tony is all yoked now, man. Yeah, he's ripped.
Damn, Tony, getting it at the gym.
Yeah, you know how men get more good looking as they age, and then us women, we just go to hell. He's so fine.
What? What are you saying? What? Okay, I look amazing. Anyway, go ahead.
So one cool thing that they talk about is when Tony saw Sallie down in the kitchen that one time, and he ran up and was freaking out. Deb, being the psycho that she was, she's like, draw me a picture. So he immediately drew a picture of what Sallie looked like to him, and I'll put that on the site too. It's this cute, he's a good artist. It's this cute little picture of this little girl. She has curly dark hair, blue eyes, and a big white bow in her hair. So Zach asked them if they think that Sallie is a demon. Deb doesn't say anything. She just sits there. She's a very strange cat, But Tony's like, yeah. And he got attacked way more times than this story had covered. And then on the screen, they start popping up all these pictures of back in the day of all his fucking injuries, like all his scratches and shit. And I'll put those too. And Zach asked him, like, how many times? He's like, I lost count a long time ago. I have no clue. Like, he was getting like attacked.
That's awful.
And just like Zach does, guess what he does? He talks them into going to investigate the house with them. Yes. They say that they haven't been there since 2007. So they left like, 1995, something like that. And then they went there and then they haven't been there since, now it's 2016. So they all go down to the basement and there's this medium with them. And this little girl, she must be like 10 years old. I'm sure she's not. I'm sure she's 20, but she looks so young, right? And they all start to feel sick. She gets nauseated. They all start getting nauseated. The medium starts hearing laughing. And then all of a sudden, so they have the night vision camera on. So you kind of see the little medium girl. She kind of like is falling down. Like she's fainting. She's like falling down and she goes to grab Tony. And at the same time, Tony grabs the back of his head and he's like, I was just attacked. So they all go upstairs. He has this huge welt and it's like lifted on the back of his like hairline.
Shouldn't have gone back, Tony. You should have just passed on that.
He's in so much pain.
What's gonna happen?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
He's in so much pain. But then, the one thing about Ghost Adventures, they have friggin' cameras everywhere. So they're like trying to debunk, did he hit the wall? Did a spider bite him? Whatever. 3 different camera views. No, he's wide out in the open. And all of a sudden the girl touches his arm and he goes like this. And yeah, it's so bananas. So they do the rest of them, the same old investigation that Zach always does. He's like, are you here? La, 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 la. Nothing really happens after that. Like there's nothing exciting to report. But I've read up on so many different stories about, people going and investigating. Shout out to Hillbilly Horror Stories. Last summer, they went and stayed the night. Him and his wife went and stayed the night in that house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it a hotel? What is the situation?
It's just like a house that you go and you can have tours and they talk about it and stuff like that.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So they have a whole episode on what happened when they stayed the night, and it's pretty wild.
That's a trip, man.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like
that's so many crazy story.
There's so
I want
many
to know
other
what the real like historical origin story would be. Do you know what I mean? It'd be really interesting to see the history of the area, who lived there, like what the real story is.
Yeah, they know for sure that a doctor did own the house, but how the little girl, whatever, it's passed down 100 years. Who knows what the true story is.
That's so crazy. Tony should never go back.
No.
And maybe him and Deb, therapy's helpul always.
Well, they stayed together for a very long time, but yeah, she's really
strange. Put up with her shit.
She's
She's odd. Good job, Tina.
Yay.
Wow. Yay.
Creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
All right. Are y'all ready for
badass story of the week?
Badass. Give me a badass story, Dre.
I have a cute badass. Everybody, you all have seen it. Mr. Bernie Sanders.
What are you talking about?
They're all cozy.
I love it.
Isn't it so
Every
cute?
single one is so great. I love it.
With his little hair flying in the wind and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Give it.
Just made me so happy. Like every new meme was just freaking hilarious.
Everyone is
so delicious. Yes. I love
so
that.
Great.
I follow a lot of crochet sites because I like crocheting. And there's this, is that what you're going to talk about, Dre? Oh,
no.
there's this someone like the very next day made this little crocheted Bernie, and it looked exactly like him. I was like, oh my gosh.
So cute.
Yeah.
I saw that too. And it had the little hair fly. That just like kills me. The little hair. It's like adorable.
I know.
It is so adorable. But I did have a little tidbit on the mittens that he was wearing. They were actually gifted to him in 2016 by a wonderful little lady by the name of Jen Ellis. She's a second grade teacher in Vermont. And she just, what she does is she takes old sweaters that are like destined for the landfill, right? And I'm all about saving the earth. So she's part of my badass today. And she basically will repurpose the sweater, put some felt, and then like line them on the inside. And so she made these with love, and she gave them to Bernie.
And then she's wearing them 4 years later.
So he loves them. He's wearing them to stay warm.
At the inauguration. At the inauguration ceremony. It's so funny because they're like, pick up, like, they're like Bernie's to-do list. Pick up laundry, go see Bill's thing, and then get some lunch or whatever.
I love it.
It was so cute. But so she actually, I don't know how they found out who, what he was wearing, because other people were like Prada and, Versace and whatever. And Bernie was wearing Jen Ellis. And
he's like, Jen Ellis.
This teacher, she actually was saying, people were saying, we want the mittens. And she's like, unfortunately, I won't be selling them. But she did get over 12,000 messages requesting them.
Wow.
Isn't that bonkers?
What?
Like, can we take 10,000 sweaters that are gonna hit the landfill and just like help Jen?
Hello.
Let's help Jen. Let's do that. Somebody
making mittens now.
Let's do it. Let's make some mittens. So she's a little badass, but Bernie actually is my badass of the week because he took this opportunity. He took his celebrity and created an opportunity, which I think is just freaking fantastic.
Yes.
So he's like, it's all fun and games and it's funny. And like, he actually admitted that he saw a lot of the memes and they're funny. Everybody's like cracking up, but he decided to, take advantage of the situation. And he created a sweater with his image on it. It's a black crew neck. And he put it on his campaign website. They are totally sold out. It's just a black crew neck with little Bernie sitting on the chest.
It's so cute. I love it. Yes.
If I could get my hands on one,
I would buy one too.
I would buy one. And the best part is that 100% of the proceeds for these t-shirt or the sweatshirts goes to Meals on Wheels in Vermont.
Yes, I love it. Bernie.
So I'm sitting there. They're totally sold out, right? So how many did he sell? We don't even know. But he went on record to say that not just Vermont will be receiving it, other Meals on Wheels programs that are going to help seniors are going to receive the benefits of it. And he's looking at millions of dollars worth of proceeds.
I love it. Wow. Yes. Badass Bernie of the week.
That's wild. That's so
wild.
Awesome. Yeah.
I just want a sweatshirt. I'll wear it every day.
What can we do to get Bernie to mention the podcast? I just feel like that would help. You know what I mean? Anyway, I think it's a great badass story.
Yay! I love that one too.
You did it, girl. You guys can check us out always on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. We have a website, handcuffsandsagepodcast.com, and we love to get emails and messages at handcuffsandsage@gmail.com. Check out our Patreon page. We have 3 different levels, 3 different ways to be a badass. Support your favorite gals and get lots of fun swag. Do you guys have anything else to add, my loves?
Yeah. When I said Bernie's little thing, like to-do list, I think go to Bill's thing. It's not Bill. What am I in the 80s for Bill Clinton? It's Joe. Do Joe's thing. I'm like, Bill.
Do Joe's thing. The poet was great. Lady Gaga singing. I watched that over and over again because that was amazing ass shit. It was all good, girl. Good job, you guys. Have a good night. Good week.
Yay.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. I love you.
See
Bye.
ya.
Handcuffs and Sage is hosted by Red, Timo, and Trey in a shitty guest room in Los Angeles.
Theme music is Leave Now by We Are Wasted. Cover art done by Megan Winchester.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Show us some love on iTunes. Be a badass and do what you want. Until next time.